Bobo?
Listen, I try to be nice. You're mimicking
You're
me.
mimicking me.
That is rude, and this conversation is over.
This conversation is over.
I get a good feeling, yeah.
Hello everybody, T4 here with an unscripted review / thoughts on Disney Animation Studios' latest film, Wreck-It Ralph. Now, this is going to be completely spoiler-free, mind you, considering that not a lot of you may have not seen the movie yet. So, yeah, I'm being fair. Where do I start with the movie? Well, let's talk about the summary of the story. The premise is that there's this antagonist in the movie named Ralph from the arcade game, well, Wreck-It Ralph. He's been doing his job since 30 years, and he's been getting tired of doing it because he's been living in a dump, and the people in the game treat him poorly. So he decided, you know what? I'm going to be a good guy, and I'm also going to get a medal to show that I am a good guy. And I'm going to leave all the rest, to the viewer's interpretation of what would happen, unless you went out and seen the movie. But that's basically the plot of the movie, and some people were actually concerned that the overabundance of video game cameos were going to ruin the movie, but don't worry folks, the general focus of the film is just Ralph, Felix, and this one character, who I cannot spoil. But you may have seen her from the trailer or the TV spots from, your commercial breaks or whatnot. But let me talk about the animation from what I remember. For Disney, it's pretty well done. I personally think that their best animated film with the use of CGI by far has to be Tangled. I've actually seen the Tangled movie. I never seen it in theaters, but I've seen it through, Redbox or whatever the heck these people call it, and it's a really enjoyable movie despite, the whole setting is like, oh, it's a princess story, but there's actually, funny characters and, a really thought out story. When it's compared to Wreck-It Ralph, it's a typical story just with, a lot of video game characters. But you only see them as cameos, and that's really it. The whole film focuses on, Felix, some gun chick, some candy girl, and Ralph. That's really it. But regarding the animation in itself, it's not bad, for, CGI standards. And in the case of Disney's, it's well polished and, very well done. Though, personally, this is sort of a nitpick. The little people in the Wreck-It Ralph game, I don't know, I find their animation to be inconsistent because when you notice how they would move, it seems like they have little frames because they're in an arcade where it's like I said, unscripted. Like they have very limited animation, and then sometimes it's usually a little fluent, for very little times. And I felt that they should have worked on that a little more. And I remember hearing about the film was originally going to be released in the next year, but they moved it, forward to 2012 because they got a lot of it done. But again, that's just a personal nitpick. I just needed to get out of the way. Let's see, what's there next to talk about? Let's talk about the characters. Ralph, he's an average character. You actually sort of care, what he's really trying to go for, but he does it in the most irrational ways possible. Basically, he tries to earn the medal, keyword being earn it by stealing it. And he accidentally goes to the next game world, to which I cannot reveal. Again, I'm trying to make it spoiler-free as possible. But the Ralph character, he's not a bad character. But there's one problem I wish they could have done, but I can understand why they went for it. He was gonna die at one scene in the movie, but of course he had to be saved. But I can understand, because without Ralph, well, how's the arcade, gonna do well? Like, let's put it this way, like, when Ralph disappeared, the owner assumed that the arcade unit was broken, so he put out a commission by putting like a out of order sign, and if it wasn't fixed, then they would be unplugged and all the characters would be homeless. The same thing happened to Q*bert. And speaking of characters, the main characters are okay. The only characters I actually cared about was both Ralph and the Candy Girl. Again, I can't explain it without spoiling it, but the best way I can describe it is that it's like an adult/child, non-intimate relationship, or it's kind of like a father/daughter type of relationship, but without the parenting. It's hard to describe it, but, I don't know how else to explain it. But the big highlight of the movie for me was just seeing all of these characters, mainly regarding video games. I mean, my god, guys, there was Bowser and Eggman, there was Zangief, Bison, Deku, Link, Sonic the freaking Hedgehog, the mushroom from the Super Mario Brothers game, Q*bert, Pac-Man. There were so many freaking characters. It was like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but it has video game characters. And that's something that Disney did a fantastic job on. And I remember the director said something about the next film might focus on online gaming and home consoles, which, it's possible to see a sequel. I can see what they go with it. But I really need to mention this. This is the only time I'm going to spoil something. Not only there are video game characters, being cameoed, but there are actually obscure video game references. Two I need to name you. There's one about Aerith, or Aerith, or however the heck you want to pronounce her name, saying like there was like a graffiti that read, Aerith is alive, or Aerith was here. And there's another one that read, Sheng Long was here, which was some sort of Street Fighter 2 character that was supposed to be in the game, but it turned out to be an April Fool's trick by some gaming magazine. I think it was EGM. It tickles me to see all those references, and, it's really nice, to see all that. And, for a film, targeted to video gamers, it's a real treat to watch. But the plot overall, it's okay. But I'll give one credit. They have one or two emotional scenes, and that's it. But it's still more than nothing. Now, let me talk about the negatives of the movie. I don't like the soundtrack. There's a few that are okay. The problem with the soundtrack is that it's mostly misses than hits. Like, there's a few original soundtracks that they're alright, but I don't find them to be that memorable. The only supposed highlight in the music department are, pop artists like Rihanna, what are they called? The Owl something. Like, oh god, I can't remember their names because I need to try to keep going. There, again, I'm scripted. But here's something I really wish it was in the movie: the interaction between Bowser and Eggman. I mean, come on, guys, it's two of the biggest villains when they're compared together. I can just imagine like they get into a feud over something petty, like they bump into each other and they get into a fight about it. I mean, come on, guys, you would pay to see that. That would have made my day. But then again, it's not my movie, it's, Disney's. So, what do I think of the film in general? for gamers out there, go see this movie. For a casual audience, bring somebody with you that's gonna be really engaged into this type of movie. And you might like it, you may sort of not like it, but it's not a bad movie. It's generally, you know, favorable. You know, it's pretty good. If you're not really into that type of thing, though, I would suggest, you know, getting on rental. From the scale to 10, I would probably give it a 7.5. But yeah, those are my general thoughts on Wreck-It Ralph. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on it, and I really hope you go see it in theaters. It's a good movie, guys. Don't miss it. This is T4 saying have a nice day, everybody. Oh, and by the way, coming on Thanksgiving, Courage the Cowardly Dog pilot episode. Stay tuned.
Closing time, last game, everyone out.